Oh, yeah. Can you believe it? We're back. It's the Joshua Project podcast. Man, it seems like it's been a while since I've actually said that. I had to slow down for a little bit and make sure I pronounced that correctly. And here today is a special guest right off the bat, my buddy, Pastor Allen.
Oh, you can't hear me?
Hey, I can hear him now. There he is.
Oh, weird. Yeah, you cut out there at the beginning too for a second.
Well, hey, this is the first podcast we put out in a number of years. And so what a great honor and privilege it is to have Pastor Allen with us.
Howdy. Good to be here.
Allen, so most people who would tune into the Joshua Project podcast know that I've been a pastor out in Livingston, Montana now for 2.5 years. Dude, give us a quick little summary of who you are and where you came from.
Well, I am originally from Southern California. Pastor's kid all my life. Youth pastor. My dad was been a youth pastor for about 45 or so years before he went all volunteer. And so he's now at First Baptist in Dallas. But so I grew up, in that kind of house. Raised going to church, born and raised going to church in El Monte, East LA area. And then we moved to Northern California for a few years and moved back down and I went to Cal Baptist and got my bachelor's degree in arts, in Christian education or in Christian studies rather. And then moved out to Texas, did my seminary work out there at Baylor. Second Bears. Yeah. and then just moved around a couple of bit, after I finished my degree there. I moved to Seattle for a year-long internship, got married, moved around a few, here, there, year there, Idaho, and then ended up here about a little over 2 years ago. So yeah, just it's kind of how we were drawn this direction. We just felt drawn to the Gallatin Valley, and yeah, loved being here so far. And that's kind of my upbringing with the faith, and just kind of even where I came from physically. So, and no, I'm not a surfer. And I never learned how to surf.
And kind of interesting, my buddy Allen is the educated one, whereas I'm not. And so you actually went to seminary.
Yes, I graduated from the seminary.
So tell me, how did seminary equip you for the times that we're living in now?
It didn't.
Yeah. Churches shut down. We're doing virtual church. We've all become televangelists now.
Yeah, I mean, it taught me. I mean, there was at Truett. So I went to Truett Seminary at Baylor, and one of the things that they did, I mean, I felt they did really well, was helping to have a lot of practical ministry. How do you practically minister? not like as almost ministering or you're practically ministering to people, but like in practice, like actually doing the practice and ministering to people, listening to people. And that's I think that's one of the biggest things that's really helped prepare me for this, was really what God did in my life during that time, which was showing me that the church is not a building. The church is not the coming to the service once a week. That is not church. The church is not a building. The church is the people. And how do we minister to and with people? And so everything that we learn, all the books that we read, as you can see, my library is full of books, and so with all the books that we read, what does it matter? So what? So what? I read a book. So what? I read something on community. So what? I read something on doing ministry with someone who's suffering. So what? And the thing about the seminary that I went to was it was very practical, had practicums. Of course we did case studies, but we also, part of it was this. I remember this one class that I took called the Christian Ministry had a lab, and the lab was actually going into the hospital, and we spent like 3 hours on the floor, basically as a chaplain, going in with people we've never met before, who had just had different procedures or who were dying of cancer. Real life things going on. And so our practicum, our lab, was going and doing the very ministry that we were reading about. on that kind of level of, walking with people one-on-one, having conversations like this, not necessarily over the internet, but
Right, such as the
in
times
person.
we live in. And
Which
so,
mean, these next couple of weeks, it could be, with this whole coronavirus stuff, like, going to the hospital and ministering with people from our churches that are suffering, that are, in these hospitals.
yeah,
So
and
at least at that point, yeah.
so for all of our listeners that are just getting to meet Alan for the first time, you can hear that he's full of knowledge. And so, I'm a firm believer that you are the sum of the 5 people you surround yourself with the most. You want to be a gangster? Go ahead, man. I was just watching a Aaron Hernandez documentary last night, and what a sad story of failed potential. But it's almost like he wanted to be somebody who he wasn't, and he found himself hanging out with the wrong people, and that was what he became. He became a prisoner for the rest of his life. I enjoy surrounding myself with Alan and his family, and so we've given him a nickname, and it's morphed throughout the couple of years that I've known Alan. It started off just as Google because he's a wealth of information, but then he likes to wear these funky shirts, and he's got this shirt with pineapples all over it. So the kids had dubbed him Google SpongeBob. And so you're affectionately known around my house as such. Well, hey, I just want to, we're just kind of like kicking off the podcast and welcoming people back. But let's talk about just briefly, what are you guys doing during this time? Everybody who's listening to this is doing church differently. So you're pastoring a church, and what have you figured out in brief about new ways to do church? What are you doing and what is effective?
Yeah. I mean, the biggest thing is going to the people where they're at, which is always our goal, especially in the church, is context. Wanting to do ministry in the context of where people are. I mean, Jesus himself went to the well. He went to the well because he knew that's where people were. People gathered around gathering spaces. He went to the temple because that's where the people were. He went to the synagogue because that's where the people were. He didn't just go to the top of a hill by himself and preach, to the air, to the insects. Eventually he would preach in the wilderness because that's where the people themselves followed him. He became, in essence, a watering hole, a walking watering hole, because people followed him. But he went to where the people were, because that's where his ministry was with. It's what his ministry has always been about, is being with the people. And so in our ministry here, trying to figure out, okay, where are the people? They're here, right? They're scrolling social media. They're taking pictures and liking pictures, and they're finding pictures in their camera roll of different colors right now. That's kind of the kick right now, right?
No. You're participating in those
trends.
Games.
I might have done it.
Yes.
Post, you should go find it.
You might have went a little overboard there, but yeah.
But it's like going where the people are. And so right now the people are on social media. We're working hard. And so it's like, okay, I can't really call all my guys in my men's group are all on, they're all working, because they're all essential. They're all construction or somewhere, they're all, there's a lot of people still in our church that are working, but it's like, where can I go that I'm connecting with people that are not currently working? Where are the people? They're on social media. They're on their phone, so I can give them a call. I can get on Zoom, and Zoom has been a great platform to connect with different people. We connected our small group, our men, on Zoom, and we had like 8 guys on Zoom. I was like, oh my gosh, all of you guys showed up. Half of you guys are like, you guys just got a smartphone. And
it's pretty cool. Awesome. We did Zoom the other night, and we had people from Hawaii, people from California, people from Montana, and it was just a time of gathering. And so I realized this the other day. I was talking to my buddy on the phone, and I thought, dude, why don't we FaceTime? Why don't we Zoom? And it just drew me closer in conversation to my buddy when I could actually look at his face, and it brought a bit of connection rather than just a phone call.
Right.
Now, one of the things that we've experienced with like the older population in our church is they don't have a smartphone. They don't even have internet at their house or a computer. And so we've kind of gone back to the days of old, kind of like what you were saying. It's right here. They have it in their hand. This particular person doesn't even have it in his hand. It's hanging on a wall. So we have
Yeah.
to literally call the landline and check up on
Huh.
one of our members. Sending out letters in the mail. We've been doing that. And then learning how to send mass emails or mass text messages without being a group text. You know,
Right.
like my whole family, God bless them, I love them. They are in this group text right now, and it's like every day, every other day, they're sending pictures of what they're having for food, for dinner. And I've silenced myself on there. And if my family's listening, I love you guys, man. I don't care about what you're eating. I want to know, like, what are you guys doing? Are you guys playing a game tonight? Are you painting something? Are you doing a puzzle?
Yeah. I may be the culprit of that in my own family.
Yeah. Hey, just a word to the wise. Nobody likes a group text.
I like a group text. You just don't like a group text.
Okay, maybe it's just me. Perhaps it's just me.
And and I shared with my family what I'm eating. I just baked some white bread the other day or last night. So I was proud of my accomplishments.
Yeah, it sounds racist to me.
Like, look what I made. I didn't go out to eat.
Well, hey, one of the things that I would like to put out there that we're doing as a church family is every night at 7 p.m. Mountain Time, every night from 7 p.m. to 7:01, we're praying against this coronavirus. We're praying for God to heal not just our land, but the world. And we're praying for a revival to sweep across the land. So do it at 7 o'clock your time, coincide your time to Mountain Time, and join us as we pray together corporately for an end to this virus. Lastly, is there anything that you guys are particularly doing that we can join in on?
We have our morning coffee with Alan. So kind of like this, I just I throw on Zoom and have it broadcasting to Facebook Live so people can join on that. It's about syncing up to talk about what's going on in our lives, or thinking out prayer, what the Lord is teaching us. That's why I do it in the morning over coffee. My wife and I have a time when we first wake up where we're having coffee and just sitting in our recliners talking to each other about the day and talking about what the Lord is teaching us. And so I figured, hey, let's I do it with my wife to create relationship. Why not do it with people over the internet, like using this to be relationally intentional, which is one of our values at Shift. We're joining in the same thing with that 7 o'clock prayer every night, praying for the end of the coronavirus, for God's kingdom to come, even in the midst of it. It's not that, God's kingdom is inhibited because of the coronavirus. It's God can create opportunities for his kingdom to come in powerful ways because of this situation going on. So that's what we're wanting to join in with his heart for. What does God want to do through this? What is the good that he wants to bring on the other side of the, in the midst of this and on the other side of this?
Hey, that's a good word right there, Alan. One of the things that we speak about in the Joshua Project is opportunities come and opportunities go. And right now, more than ever, each and every one of us, man, I believe this, we all have opportunities in front of us now, whether that's evangelizing to our family, our neighbors, whether that's just being more devoted in our study and in our prayer and in our fasting. What are you doing, my friends? Opportunities come and opportunities go. So would you seize the opportunity that is right in front of you? And until next time, I think I'm going to invite Father Alex to come do a podcast with us. So look forward to that next podcast. And until then, my friends, it's good to be back with you. Would you be well, and would you love one another?